Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of CPA's After Hours. Here's your host,
Z Barfoot.
and I'm the co-host or peon or whatever you want to call me, Austin Ward. We're here to share the parts of the CPA profession that you're not going to read about in textbooks or learn about in your CPE courses. Today's topic?
Today we're talking about our nightmare fuel. What is it that clients do that they might not know is causing us turmoil eternally?
Maybe.
That might be a little too deep. But there are a lot of things that clients do unintentionally that they're not aware of. So this is for you. If you're worried about your client, if you're worried about your CPA relationship, they're not getting back to you, or you feel like they're not smiling when they see your name on the caller ID, then maybe these are some things that you can implement to increase that relationship. What are some of the things that immediately come to your mind that think, oh, yeah, this is not a good situation. This creates a lot of stress for me, and it really increases your tax bill.
Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. I'm going to say, when we talked about this, the idea was clients ask all the time, what do you need from me? I'm so stressed about not knowing what I need to give my CPA. And we have changed it to be more clickbaity. So, we're nice people, guys. But things that frustrate me all the time. So when you send in your documents, we have built into our process to take a first pass. And we look at last year, we look at this upcoming year, we see any major differences. We compare that to the notes in your initial consults, like when we agreed to take you on. We have some internal notes we've drafted. And we make sure we've got 90% of what we need to get a return thrown together. And then if we have questions on the back end, we'll ask those. What eternally frustrates me, because I've got somebody under me that assists me in some of that process, we review their work. There's always more than one set of eyes on it, even on the request list. But I need help. I can't do all of them. Is when we go through that collaborative process together, and I send you a list of, let's say, 5 questions. And I am very clear. I don't just say, send me your 1099-R. I say, hey, last year I saw a 1099-R for retirement distributions from Arkansas Teacher Retirement System. Can you please provide that to us? So I explain what every item is and why we need it. So I send you a 5. I always do a numbered list because, let's say I ask you yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You could say 1, yes, 2, no, 3, I've requested this, I'll email it to you in 2 days. Do not answer 1, 3, and 5, and then call me in a week and say, hey, where are we at on my returns? Well, we're 3/5 of the way to getting started because I asked for 5 things and you gave me 3. So now I've got to go, thank you so much for providing 3/5 of what I asked you for. I still need these other 2 items. And that person that sent me 3 the first time is not going to send me the 2 in the second request. They're going to send me 1/2. And so for my 5 items, I'm going to send 3 different request lists. Now that is not the end of the world.
Can I say what it happens? What turns into that goes straight into a multi-month tax preparation that we are ready to file in May. We have 2 questions, and we end up filing in December. Why am I using those dates? Because this is a playbook of exactly what has happened with the current client. That will no longer be a current client. It's just not a good fit.
And you would be surprised the kind of clients that do that. You would think it's disaster people, but it's usually really successful people. I mean,
making
attorneys,
$700,000.
doctors, financial advisors, people who generally have their life together, but they just, a numbered list blows their mind. I sometimes wonder if they do it to mess with me, because I did have a guy one time that I brought on as a client early on, and he said he always messes up 1 or 2 things just to see if his accountant catches it. And I wondered, after I talked to that guy, if there's more people like him that just don't say that. Your gears are turning.
Yeah, I do not like that. If that is your intention, please do not ever seek to work with us. That's a very kind request. What about entity structuring? Maybe perhaps doing it on your own throughout the middle of the year without informing anybody.
Okay, so I kind of have a nuanced perspective on this. Most people should be capable of starting their own business and filing the paperwork with the Secretary of State. If you know that you are not a detail-oriented person, you should probably at least talk to somebody before you do it. And like, our office is in the Arnold Innovation Center. It's on my sweater right here. There are 3 CPAs and 2 attorneys that volunteer their time up here once a month. So you can get with somebody once a week if you wanted to. And they would all tell you the process of going through that. I don't prepare those for clients, but what I'll do is I'll have them pull up the website, like while they're sitting with me. I will send them the link. I'll hook their computer up to the TV, and I will like point at where they should click. Because I can't practice law, but they can self-service, right? So if you're one of those people who thinks you need some help, that would be much wiser than messing it up yourself. So in the last couple months, what have we seen on that? Folks bought a business, hired an attorney to do an operating agreement. Operating agreement required them to become an S corporation. S corporation was not cost benefit ROI positive for them. Never seen that in an operating agreement in my life. I'm not an attorney, but we request them when we do the tax returns because for partnerships, they're really important to preparing an accurate return. I asked another attorney about that if he'd ever seen that language. He said it was crazy. So, for whatever that's worth. Another one I saw was a guy who tried to set up his own LLC. He set it up as a C corporation. Now he's got to pay a larger fee to unwind that one, and he's got to go redo it as a LLC. Saw a lady. That one was yours. She messed up her LLC somehow. I have another guy. He somehow has got... He sent in his documents. I can't tell if he's a sole proprietor or an LLP or an LLC taxed as an S corp or what is going on, because Secretary of State says one thing, his documents say one thing, IRS says another thing,
He's
his
running
payroll provider says another thing. I'm not even sure all the stuff is legal. I'm not going to go any deeper in on that one. But, the other one is S elections. So, like, you decide you want to be an S corporation. Again, if you read all the instructions and you research the regulations, you could do that on your own. But here's how I want to frame this to you. Like, I teach a tax class over at Hendricks. We do tax research. Tax research is really not that hard. But the first time you do something, kind of like riding a bike, who naturally rode a bike really well the first time? Not very many people. So if your first foray into tax research is going to be doing an S election, it's probably going to get rejected. And you're not ever going to hear that it gets rejected. You're going to be waiting for this letter that never comes, and you're going to go about your business like you are S corporation, and you're going to get hate mail. And then you're going to have a more expensive problem to get it fixed, depending on how long you wait. So, not to scare anybody, like, you can do some stuff yourself, and we empower people to do that when they don't have the funds to do it through a professional, but at least get some guidance. There's a lot of people who will set you on the right path for free.
Yes, there's a lot of free advice out there on YouTube. A lot of it, depending on who you're watching, can be good or bad. Jasmine DeLucci, hats off to you. I think you do wonderful on YouTube.
I've met her. She's really, really nice.
Yeah, she's great. There's other ones that I won't mention that every time I see you, I think of tax fraud and evasion. So I'll just let you self-assess if that's you.
Another nightmare client thing. Please, God, do not send me a TikTok link that says, what do you think of this? Because there is probably some good stuff on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I don't like that it tries to predict what you will enjoy. It scares me that it, like, immediately starts feeding you content. So I'm not on there. I'm sure there's some good stuff. There's a lot of garbage on there. And I don't want to interrupt my day of, like, working on clients who pay our bills and helping our staff to get our clients' work done on time, to watch a TikTok video and then provide you a line-by-line breakdown of what I think. It would be better if you just asked me the question that the TikTok prompted you. Like, if you just said, hey, I heard that it would be more profitable for me to be a C corporation. And I can say, I bet you heard that on TikTok. That's a way better email exchange.
Agreed. Or Yeah, you could funnel everything through a trust, and then the trust pay 34% tax instead of you paying 12. You can do that. It's just not beneficial.
We literally had a guy this week, and he did that, and then we did a quick Google search because it was a really complicated structure, and we were not going to be able to charge him for any research on it. And so we Google searched it, and it was like, this is one of the IRS dirty dozen tax scams. Like,
it said the IRS refers to this as a sham.
Yeah. So if you didn't even do the Google search, man,
you love paying $200 an hour for us to do the Google search.
We did not get paid on that Google search.
I did not.
Do not let him feel.
I did not bill that. No, it didn't take me that long. So far as opening up a 401k randomly throughout the middle of the year, would you recommend that, or would you run that by like an advisor or a CPA or somebody?
He's trying to get me caught up in drama. In general, if you're looking at making a big move, an email is a really easy thing for you to send. And like for us, we usually respond to emails within 24 to 48 hours. Hey, I'm considering setting up a 401k. And we're going to remember broad strokes about your business. And we're going to be able to tell you whether or not that's a good idea. Or we're going to be able to say, hey, that's going to require a little bit more of an analysis of your future goals, yada, yada, yada. There's going to be something that moves the ball. If you just go out and do it, now we've got a mess to unwind. And not every business is eligible for every kind of small business retirement plan. And it changes based on whether you have employees or whether you don't, how they get contributed to. So sometimes you lock yourself into making these contributions you really don't want to have to make. So yeah, that's a great example of when you should maybe ask before you go do it. Another one is like early retirement distributions. Like if you're going to do that, probably speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about on taxes, or you're going to have a really big bill.
Yeah.
And financial advisors a lot of times don't do a great job of explaining that.
Yeah, they don't want you to take the money out because it's lowering their assets under management, the fee they can charge. Like, not saying that to say advisors are bad. They want the best for you to continue growing your net worth. But with that in mind, if you take money out of a 401k, you have a 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half. If you move that money to an IRA and take that out of the IRA, still under 59 and a half, your chances of paying that penalty, like not paying the penalty, skyrocket. There's a lot more exceptions than you can use to not pay that 10% penalty in an IRA than a 401k. So a simple move like that could potentially save you 10% on the whole withdrawal. And I see that pretty common. Mr. Malone, next thing we have is 9 scenarios where you're going to have to tell me whether this is something you should run by the CPA or not. Something you should inform them if it pops up in your business throughout the middle of the year. Have you reviewed these?
No.
Okay, good. Live reaction. I opened a second business bank account and forgot to mention it.
That one is not the end of the world, assuming it's in their bookkeeping stuff. If we do the bookkeeping and we don't know about it till the end of the year, that is really, really frustrating because now we've got a year of work to go do. So, something like that can kind of go either way.
I was thinking on the bookkeeping side.
Okay, yeah.
This year, I dressed as a pharaoh for Halloween.
Okay, that's a real story. Occasionally people upload pictures to our client portal, and somebody uploaded a picture of them in a very scanty pharaoh outfit. And I opened up that client file to do the tax return. I don't know this client. It's one of Z's.
It's my neighbor.
And I got an eyeful. But it was funny,
It's
but
my neighbor.
I would have liked a warning. I was kind of like, did Z put this in here to throw me for a loop? But no, client uploaded it.
Okay, what about this one? I went to Antarctica this year.
Okay, that's one of mine, and he uploaded photos from Antarctica. That was a little bit more welcome.
Yes.
They were G-rated.
Yeah, ski board or snowboarding, a lot better. I paid my teenager through my business.
That one's really important. So you can pay your kids, and there's some tax benefits to that. There's some documentation that needs to be done. Certain business entity types can do it. Certain business entity types cannot. There's some workarounds. If you're an S corporation, you can have like a family management company. I have one client who went nuts on me because he was trying to manage all that himself. He didn't want to pay me to manage it. And then he got to the end of the year and he was like, okay, what about my W-2s? And I was like, I have this form you signed of the services you wanted, and you checked no, I'm going to do my own payroll, so I'm not doing those. And he didn't ask me till after they were already late. So, yeah, don't be that guy. If you are going to do something like that, run it by somebody to make sure it's audit proof.
I opened a solo 401k because I saw Z saying it's a good investment plan.
If he told you that in a consult, then he probably knows what he's talking about. If he did it on one of these things and you're relying on that as tax advice, that's pretty foolish.
Agreed. Yeah, don't blindly implement anything you hear on this. This is
on the
broad
internet.
strokes.
Don't trust anybody on the internet.
Yeah.
There's liars on there.
If you're not aware of that, watch our last episode where we talk about professionals. Like that plug. I switched coffee brands in the office.
That is going to raise my blood pressure so high if that comes through the client portal.
Maybe I've already seen it. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I switched to an S Corp mid-year this year.
So, not the end of the world. I mean, we can make that happen for you, on the reporting side. Mid-year conversions are generally not awesome. There needs to be a specific reason for that. Also, if it's considered late, the likelihood that you prepared a late at selection correctly by yourself is pretty low. And then if you did the bookkeeping for the conversion, the likelihood that you got the opening balances right for that new S corporation is also just about zero. And was it a conversion, or did they just say they opened?
Switched to.
Okay. Another thing I'm going to throw in here that's not directly related to that is if you buy or sell a business partway through the year, that gets really complicated really fast too. And so you go directly to tax hell if you do not tell your preparer about that ahead of time.
If you didn't know, there's an elevator with a button that you enter for that one.
Yeah, I don't know who sends you, but
yeah, the pulley.
I just know the rules.
It's a really strong pulley. I haven't opened my last 3 IRS letters.
That was infuriating. I am the unlucky soul that gets to handle all the letters in our office. And it's kind of frequent that this happens. I don't know if y'all know this. Clients lie sometimes. And I know why they do it. It's because they're embarrassed. And those letters are scary. But they'll be like, I just got this letter. The letter's dated 3 months ago. It did not take 3 months for the IRS letter to get to you. And also, it has a little number up at the top, either CP and then a number, or it says letter, LTR, and then a number. The first thing I do is I plug that into the Taxpayer Advocate Service Notice tool, and it tells me what stage of collection you're in. And sometimes you've been receiving letters for over 6 months. And so the likelihood that you, that I believe that's the first letter you got goes to about 0. And it's I want to help the clients, but I can't help the clients when I'm not getting all the facts. So
They need to tell us.
Yeah.
ASAP.
And it makes me look like a fool if I call in to represent you and then I go in blind. Let's say I just relied on that. And I say, my client just got this letter and you've got them in the wrong stage of collections. And then they pull up their certified mail receipts. And, well, actually, we sent a letter to this address on this date, and this date. And if they log into their portal, they can see all those letters right now.
Yeah.
That's humiliating to me.
I started a small side hustle and made $6,000.
If you have the money to pay the tax on it, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, people have side hustles all the time. The question, what makes it a nightmare is when you call in on April 13th and you haven't submitted any of your stuff because you started this new side hustle and you were anxious about it, and now you want us to walk you through how to do the bookkeeping and you don't want to pay any tax on it. That's the part where it gets frustrating. But if you're like reasonable and realistic, that's fine.
Yeah, I agreed. I thought that wasn't a big deal either. Do you have anything in your mind that you think this is something that's popped up and I really wish you would have told me a while ago?
I do see a lot of like ownership changes. So, like what was a single member LLC becomes a partnership. And so now we have a partnership return that I didn't know about, and we sent you the wrong organizer because you didn't tell us that. And so now I'm trying to prepare your return, and we've got to go back to the beginning of our process and start over. That's frustrating. A lot of times on the like bookkeeping side, I had a guy this week. He sent in 15 CSV files. So like Excel files are great. I love Excel files. I can do wizardry. I almost don't even have to use a mouse. CSV files, if you make any formulas in there or any formatting, like color coding or whatever, it does not save your changes. So the first step we've got to do, either me or a staff member has got to go in and convert all 15 files. Okay, also, how much work did it take you as the client to generate 15 separate CSV files? How easy would it have been to copy and paste those all into one or whatever? And then on this particular client, I eventually found out that about 3 of those Excel files weren't even business related once I got in there. And so I spent all this time putting together this request list, and over half of my request list had nothing to do with the business. It's like that's something that's kind of infuriating because I'm up here working overtime, and I could have been working my overtime on clients going to completion, but instead I just wasted like 4 hours of my life when I could have been talking to my dad or my grandma or at the gym or whatever. So I don't hate that person, but man, they could have done better.
Let's talk about the small snowball effect that happens when we don't get these documents or these things, and we're not aware of them when they happen. Let's say somebody got a new job and they made double the amount of money, or they went self-employed in the middle of the year and they didn't tell us until, let's say somebody, this is a real thing, went from W-2 to fully self-employed and actually made more money the next year.
So anything with a business or self-employment, like becoming a 1099 employee, makes everything a little bit harder.
You're going to have CPAs calling you out for 1099 employee.
Okay, sorry. 1099 contractors. Also, I just went and wrestled, so any of these CPAs that were mad at me can come up here and wrestle me. And if they beat me, I will publicly apologize for my blunder. My brain's not working. The business has got to have some form of books and records, and a lot of people don't know that. They don't know how to get started, and so they do nothing. And then they come in and they send us like the 1099, and we go, oh Lord, something changed. We've got to go down the business rabbit hole. And so then you're like, hey, I need some financials on this. Do you have like a profit and loss? And they come back and like, I don't know what that is. So good. So this is basically what I need. I need all the expenses that relate to this income. Well, I heard about mileage. Like, yes, mileage is a thing. You know, I need the total number of miles you drove and the portion that were business and the portion that were commuting. They're like, what about depreciation? I heard about that too. Yes, depreciation's a thing. Da, da, da. So you're having all this back and forth before you even get the financials. And then they send the financials in. And then there's something crazy on those. And it's like, W-2 wages? What do you mean W-2 wages? You received this 1099 from this. Why do you have W-2 wages on your Schedule C? It's like, that's not a huge... Tax-wise, it's not a problem. It's statutorily illegal. So you got to fix it going forward. There's not a ton you can do in the current year to go back and undo that. But it just creates a lot of headache. And it creates a circular process. So if you've got a brand new business, whether you're buying, selling, starting from scratch, reach out early and ask what you think are stupid questions, because I would love to have a stupid question that doesn't come in during peak season.
Couldn't agree more. It seems like my favorite clients to work with are the ones that reach out to us in November and December. There's nothing about the client particularly that I can put my finger on, but they're conscious and they want to be ahead of the ball. And they want you to allow them to make any changes before the end of the year happens. And they still have time to move the needle on things.
We used to have this client. He has left to go somewhere else, which is all right. I think it was an amicable parting for the most part. But he did something really, really cool. Every quarter, he would put together a letter and send it to all his advisors. It was like a newsletter on like major things that had happened in the company. And so he would say, like, we had this managing member that managed the construction company. He left kind of abruptly. We bought him out. We've got a new guy hired that's going to come in. We're not going to give him equity because of this nightmare we've had. We're going to scale that operation back and only do internal projects, yada, yada, yada. There was nothing in that was specific to financial advising. There was nothing in that specific to accounting. But that gave every advisor what they needed to ask intelligent questions. And so then when I had a meeting with him, I could pull that little letter up and we could run through that together. And I could tell him, okay, so we're going to have like a short year closing in the books to get him off of there, yada, yada, yada. He's going to get one more K1. This new guy's just going to get a W-2. We need to get him set up in the payroll. You know how to do that. That's really cool. I've only ever seen one client do that. I wish more medium-sized businesses would do something like that.
We're coming up on our time. Time to wrap it up. Is there anything that you think people have questions about that you need to deliver an answer for? Meaning, well, I don't know the best time to reach out for help. Or, I don't want to bother anybody. I know you're busy on February 19th. Do I just need to wait until May?
Okay, so you can reach out whenever you want. We don't care if you call on April 14th. What is annoying is when you call on April 14th and you expect your stuff done on April 15th and we don't know you from Adam, or we do know you and you haven't answered any of our emails that started in like the beginning of January.
That's the worst.
So we're not haters, okay? We're human beings that have a process, and the process is designed to protect people and to be, I don't like the word idiot proof, but we do kind of handhold. So like if you don't know what you need to get us, if you follow our process, we will figure out what you need to get us. So I would say reach out whenever you want. Know that there is a seasonality to the business, and so if you reach out right around an impending deadline, the turnaround time might be slower, but that you're going to get taken care of. And there's nothing wrong with following up either. If you send an email of like, hey, I sent an email, I didn't get a response, like, are we still on track? That's fine too, because sometimes what I have to do is schedule stuff on my calendar to work on. And so I can come back and I can say, yeah, I'm sorry, you're in my queue. I have a block for you that I'm going to work on your stuff on Friday morning. I'll have you an update on Friday afternoon. But I just don't always have time when I see that email come through to be like, here's where your stuff is at, yada, 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 yada.
The best part about working with us is there's typically a client view of where your stuff is. So if you have the app, we use TaxDome. Love to have a sponsorship from you. If you have the TaxDome app, you can see where your project is. So it'll tell you if it's waiting on you, if it's waiting on us, if I need to record a video to deliver it, if it's being prepared or reviewed. You know exactly where it's at. It gives you insight to our process and gives you some reassurance quality control is happening.
If you're waiting on a video, email him.
I'm the video guy. It might not seem like it, but it's me. Thank you so much for taking time to listen with us and talk about Nightmare Fuel. We will catch you on the next one.